Hi, I'm Jadryk, and this is my show at the Art Salon in Cambridge. So most of the pieces, they're a mixture of sort of modern culture and old religious paintings. So there's hints of gold and really rich dark blacks, but it's all brought together with biro pen and spray paint instead of traditional oil paint. So sort of a mixture of cultures. And in here there's the wood carving as well, and then it's worked over the top with black spray paint, and then paper with biro drawn onto it, and deeper colour added with either spray paint, ink or tea stain for the skin tones. This started out just as a single picture, and then after wetting it and sort of disintegrating the paper, I layered more layers and worked back into it and tore it up and burnt it and soaked it in water to try and add this nice texture to it. This is my name over here, and this was one of my favourite pieces to paint actually. It's all in black gloss paint, and it took about 2 weeks to dry. It's got about half a litre of paint on it, and it's just, I just love looking at all the texture and all the drips and the way it's so shiny as well, so perfect, but these letters are so messy, because gloss paint is usually something which you use for really precise coverage and making things look beautiful, whereas I've sort of gone the opposite way with it and just tried to destroy the canvas with it really. But I love all the texture and the way it's dried, sort of started to crack and sort of break down on itself. I really like that. Up here is another piece which focuses on the idea of sort of the forgotten and things that have sort of been unnoticed for ages. So what I did was I created the portrait first and then covered the whole painting with black paint, and I sanded it back to just have the image peeping through, because I didn't want it to be a bold image. I wanted it to be hidden and like it would be in real life if you were coming out of the darkness, if you were standing in a shadow or something. But I like the way once you notice it, you're sort of captured by the eyes and you can't stop looking at them, draw you in. And then as you get closer, you notice like the subtle tones, like the yellows and the blues, and start to notice the other colours coming through as well as the wood grain, which I really like. And it's the natural showing through, like all this man-made destruction again, which is a really nice contrast. So all of my work it's all created on pieces of wood which I found. So all of the work in here has been produced on just reclaimed bits of wood. So again, it's the idea of things which are unused, been forgotten, unloved, and then sort of making something out of nothing. So I usually start on my pieces, the first thing I create is the eyes. So I always work out from the eyes, and then from the eyes I get an idea of sort of almost the soul behind the face. Because once you've got the eyes, they are the key part of the personality, and from there it's just working out. So I like the faces that I produce to be a sort of a mixture of cultures again, with the idea of the mix of modern and old. So they're not a specific nationality or specific race or gender even. Some of them are sort of masculine, but I like this idea. It's good that it's sort of a mixture of people, it's not a specific person. So I think there's something in the pieces that everyone can relate to in a way by them being such a mix of everything. So all the colours are sort of reflective of classic oil paintings and old sort of Renaissance paintings, so they almost have this sort of religious, holy feel to them, but obviously it's not Jesus and it's not Mary, it's somebody that we can all relate to, so it's not a specific person which has done something great. It's just like any person in a way. It's sort of looking at the ideas of religion and sort of modern pop culture and things that people get obsessed with, like people are going to look at this and say, oh, the Illuminati and things like this, and it's all just, it's not, it's whatever you want it to be, so it's just sort of like having fun and playing with what people think stuff is, so it's not about the Illuminati or anything like that, it's just about having a joke really, and yeah, having fun with art, because the only problem is when you get tied to drawings for ages and you feel like, oh, I'm never going to get this finished, and you start to lose a love for it. So I just like producing stuff which is really fun to produce, and yeah, stuff you actually enjoy for yourself. These are again on the idea of having fun with your art and just sort of playing around with it. So, like the typography pieces, is just having words on the piece of paper or the canvas, or in this case, tree stump. But yeah, it's just saying up front what the piece of art is, rather than having all these convoluted hidden meanings like a lot of modern art does. So yeah, it's just sort of just little jokes. I love just playing little jokes. So this one, I much prefer Steel and Concrete, is obviously, it's just like a little joke about the fact that it's a tree stump and the fact that modern society is sort of, it's not based around nature in any way anymore. We live in a world made of steel and concrete. And then this piece, which just says A, B, C, D, E, F, give up. So again, it's just a little joke, but yeah, it's sort of the idea of modern life. You don't really keep trying at something. If you're not good at something, you don't do it. You do what you're good at, really. So these are more pieces on reclaimed wood, but these are all based on my travels to Los Angeles last summer. So this is a man that I met in a hostel in San Diego, and he'd been living there for about a year and a half, and he was 70 years old, so it was quite a sad situation. But yeah, he was in the same room as me in this horrible hostel, which was infested with like bed bugs and mice. And yeah, I felt really sorry for the guy, but then at night it was almost like he turned into another creature, because as he was sleeping in my room, he was snoring so loudly. One night I decided to take some photos of him to sort of get some payback, but instead of laughing at them, they ended up becoming this piece of art. And yes, it's quite personal for me, because this was, it's quite a scary time in America, being in this hostel. It wasn't the nicest place to be, but yeah, it's just picking up on the characters. So again, the idea of the forgotten, this man he was sort of under the radar. He'd been living at a hostel, and he was so old, and it was just really sad. So the idea of him being forgotten and sort of left. But so yeah, I've used these really dark, sort of browny, yellowy tones, and I just think they give the right sort of feeling, like sort of unease, but it's sort of peace but unease at the same time. And you notice this as you get into the background, everything sort of becomes a lot more chaotic, and it's harder to make out what's going on. So yeah, those are just the same sort of ideas going through again. And the whole piece has been created in biro pen over the top of spray paint, using different tones of spray paint to just sort of pick out areas of interest, such as like the back of the pillow, the towel over his leg, and just a little reflection on his chest there. This one is of one night I was trying to get home from somewhere in Hollywood at about 4 in the morning, and I got on the Hollywood night bus, but this was the only person on there aside from the bus driver, and this man was terrifying. He was a homeless man, and he had a sort of big piece of cloth over his face, and I sat towards the back of the bus, but as soon as I sat down, he decided to stand up and come and sit opposite me. and every now and then he'd just turn around and just look at me through this cloth. So it was a really scary time. So I managed to take a photo of him. Probably wasn't the best idea, but yeah, I managed to take a photo of him, and I sort of managed to draw out this really sort of horrible, uneasy feeling that I had, and sort of given this by like the angle of the window and the reflections and the bright green and the blue. They're all sort of queasy colours that make you feel like really unsettled. And the way that he's sort of moving forwards, like the bus is braking. Yeah, I really like that.
Hi.
Hiya. Yeah, this is another piece from America. This was a drum circle on Venice Beach. So every lunchtime around about midday, all the street performers and all the strange people from Venice Beach would all meet up on the beach and start to play their drums. And this day, this was just the start of the drum circle, but it continued to get bigger and bigger until it was a few hundred people, and then all of a sudden we had police helicopters flying around, and yeah, it just became crazy, really. But yeah, it was just like a wonderful time. It was just like, it felt unorganised, and it wasn't anything like specific. It was just people coming together and just playing rhythms and songs, and then it grew and grew. I just love this idea of sort of people just sort of reacting to one another's artwork in a way that everyone... this piece here, it says, never gonna pay me a wage, and it was sort of feeling at one point of just sort of my feelings to the art, and the fact that it's hard to pursue a career in art. You can't just do art. You have to have a job and be able to fund yourself. And yeah, it's just saying that, like, it's never going to pay me a wage. It's never going to be a steady income. But you don't do stuff necessarily because it's going to pay you or you're going to get something out of it. You do stuff because you love it or you enjoy it, which is the main thing. So yeah, and it's on the door from my studio. So again, that's another thing. It's all about the art, really. Yeah, and just doing it for the love of art and just to love to create stuff.
I'm Barbara, and I'm here to see an exhibition by Jadryk Brown, which has been very, very exciting. It's here in the Cambridge Art Salon, and it's a very interesting space, a very good place to have an exhibition. The artists are a very mixed group of artists that come here to exhibit, and this particular exhibition is very exciting for this young artist who we've watched over some years getting better and better, and it's a wonderful place for him to start his artistic endeavours.
This is Jadryk's first exhibition, and I'm helping with him because I really like his work. I met him as a result of teaching the mother of one of his best friends, who they attended the Perth School for Boys, but I'd seen his work on Newmarket Road. It was graffiti work, and it was a very, very haunting piece of work, and I really liked it. And then after Barbara, the lady I teach, said how wonderful his work was, I decided I'd find out more. And I was doing a project as part of Art Language Location last year, which is artists exhibiting all over Cambridge in strange locations, and I suddenly had this idea that actually it would be really rather nice to work with Jadryk, because I thought there was a similarity between my work and his, and I'm infinitely older than him, and I thought it would be interesting to see how we could collaborate together with such a great age gap, and we can, and to the point that I wanted to get in this exhibition here, but Jadryk and I are exhibiting in Create in Hackney I think it's late September this year, and we'll do some pieces as the one in the window, where we're both working on the same piece of work, and other pieces we'll do independently. So I'll be doing kimono and wall hangings and protest pieces, and strangely enough, he does similar ideas but in his style, so that'll be really, really nice. So yes, but the Cambridge Art Salon launch here has been super for him, because unless you've done exhibitions, you don't actually know what's involved. So it's incredibly useful for a young person to come here in this very, very kind of relaxed atmosphere and learn the ropes, learn how to put an exhibition together, learn the bits and pieces, like things to do with commission, things to do with having price lists, which we've failed on this time, but you know, he's got to learn something. You only learn from your mistakes. If everything runs perfectly, you don't get anywhere. Is that enough?